I did not think I'd actually be making this video, but here I am because I actually did finish a book in 3 weeks. Hello YouTube! I'm finally back with another writing update, and this one is really exciting. I finished a book in 3 weeks. 3 weeks! I don't think I've ever done that before. It usually takes me like a year because I get so confused about the ideas. I really wanted to give you all an update on how my writing process was going, where this idea came from, and kind of what that's been like to write it in such a quick time period. So first of all, this was not an idea I've had for years. Most of the stories I end up writing are characters or ideas that I've had for a really long time. This one came to me in the form of a short story. I just cranked it out, wrote it, called it done, and then the characters stuck with me so much that I was like, you know what? I'll just keep writing. I'll make it a longer short story. And then it started becoming novel length, and I was like, I guess this is happening. It was super out of character for me because I am a huge planner when it comes to writing. I usually have a 5-page document with a bunch of notes and chapter outlines and things crossed off and me being like, this doesn't make any sense. I want to give you all a little bit of a sneak peek synopsis into what it is, because I'd love to have some of you be beta readers. Obviously, if you want to, just comment below and we'll get in contact. I want to read to you maybe the first paragraph or so of the book, and give you a little background about what it's about. Mother named the 3 of us after plants. It was expected, seeing as she spent half her life gardening. She chose unusual plant names, no rose, lily, or daisy, as she thought that maybe it would make us more unique. But still, it was incredibly predictable. My older brother Rowan was named for a type of tree that grows in cold weather and produces bright cherry red berries that were formerly used to flavor beer. Tansy, the youngest, was named after this tiny yellow flower that grows in bundles and sort of looks like a sponge if you squint your eyes. I think I've got the most boring name, the curse of the middle-born child. Laurel, a green, leafy shrub that blends in with the rest. I think that Rowan and Tansy will outshine me, even in death. And so the tentative title of this book is Laurel Everywhere, and it's mostly about Laurel, my main character, trying to figure out how she's supposed to exist in this world when she's lost all the people who've told her who she is. So that's just how it starts. I don't know if it'll start like that after editing it, but it introduces the characters kind of as these 3 siblings that are named after plants, and 2 of the characters end up dying. So the premise of the story is that Laurel and her dad want pizza, and Rowan, Tansy, and their mom want ice cream, so they go separate ways. And the mom, Rowan, and Tansy get in a car crash, and all 3 of them die. And Laurel and Dad are left to pick up the pieces. And it's written from the perspective of a 15-year-old, which was really fun for me because it had me reflecting on how it felt when I was 15. You kind of feel like you know everything, but you know that you don't know everything, but sometimes you're a lot wiser than a lot of the adults in your life, and also sometimes you're a lot more naive, and it's just this time of so much growth and change in a person's life. And so it was really fun for me to write from the perspective of Laurel Summers, who is a 15-year-old girl. And the story is just as much about grief as it is about love. I read a lot of books about grief. I think it's because it's kind of what I like to write about, and it's also very healing. And I noticed that in a lot of books about grief, the main character will always fall in love throughout the novel and like start a relationship in the end, and it kind of like puts a band-aid over all their problems or their loss, and it feels like they're just replacing their loss with a love interest, and often it's like a girl falling in love with a boy and it's solving all her problems. So I wanted to shake that up because I do really think that grief and love are things that go together. And I think that when you have love, when there's also grief, it makes it really complicated, but it also makes it really powerful and beautiful. So I shake that up because my main character, Laurel, is in love before the novel starts. She's been in love with her best friend for a couple of years, and she doesn't know what to do about that, and things are really messy between the 2 of them. And then her family dies, and she's just as much figuring out how to grieve as she is how to love and how to tell the person she loves and who she's supposed to love. And it's very special to me. I think another thing, in addition to romantic relationships, this book is also about friendship, specifically female friendship. Laurel's 2 best friends are both females, and they are just this really beautiful trio of friends that are very supportive of each other, and they all come together during this time of grief, and they also all fight and have arguments, and they're all grieving in different ways, and so it impacts their friendship. But I wanted to highlight how 15-year-old girls can be there for each other, and how no matter how many feelings get in the way and grief gets in the way, they are so fiercely loyal to each other. And it's a very heavy topic. I think when I've tried to explain this novel to like the one person in my life that I've tried to explain it to, I've been like, this feels so sad when I'm saying it, but my narrator, Laurel, is equal parts sensitive and sad as she's really funny and witty. And so it's really, I would say it's a really heavy topic, but a very light read in the way that she talks and writes, and all the moments of love and friendship that are throughout the novel. To all you writers, that if any of you are also kind of in a bit of a period of writer's block, I was in there all summer. I was mostly just writing poetry. Not that that's a jest, but I prefer novel writing. But I've been focusing on my poetry because I was having a really hard time creating characters. Just want you to know that eventually an idea will fall upon your head, and it'll get figured out, and it might take a couple months, it might take a year. And it's not that I'm saying you just should like sit around and wait for an idea to strike you, because I think if you just don't do anything about it, it never will. But I think what's been helpful for me is just to practice being creative in small capacities, like poetry and writing short stories, and then eventually my short story turned into a novel. And so giving yourself those easy assignments that you can complete super fast, super helpful, and will eventually get you to a point where you're ready to develop characters further and ready to write more. And so I definitely want to open it up to you all. I'm thinking of posting my novel on Beta Books for you all to read. Please comment below if you think that's a good idea. I need to do a little more research on Beta Books to just make sure I feel comfortable with putting my work there. But if any of you have used that before, I would love to hear some feedback and some insight. And if any of you are really interested or particularly struck by what I've told you about my novel, then comment below as well, and we can get in touch and we can see if you'd be a good fit to be a beta reader for me. Keep writing.